How do you think they're doing?
Hard to say. I'm not sure about how the girls are doing, June.
I've drawn up a rota. I've made it so you and I don't overlap.
Maybe we should ask Mum what she wants.
Hi, Kate.
Hi, hello.
Nice to meet you again. Congratulations on the film.
Thank you.
We have already talked about Goodbye June at the press conference, and I asked you about the healing characteristics of the film and how it could potentially mend relationships in real life. And since this project has your son as a screenwriter and you as a filmmaker, I was curious to know how was your relationship with him while making the film. I imagine that it made you guys closer. Maybe he saw something new professionally that he hasn't seen at home and vice versa.
Two such fantastic questions. So in making this film, the most important thing to me as the director was to make it feel real. It had to be relatable. I think all of these characters feel very present. I know so many people who are similar to those characters, even though it's a fictional story, even though it's a fictional family. I wanted for all their emotional exchanges and experiences and for all of the spaces that they occupy, literal spaces, I wanted them to feel believable, not like the movie version. Because I think when you're telling a story that is, yes, it's about loss, but it's also about a family and it's about life and it's about love and human connection. And it's also about those conversations that people find difficult to have. You know, in order to offer an audience an experience whereby they might see something of themselves or their own personal circumstances in these characters, that mattered to me a lot, to be sensitive towards the opportunity to do that. And for some people who are now responding to the film, people have described it as being uplifting. Some people who have gone through the loss of a parent have even described it as being cathartic. And that's very meaningful and quite surprising. I didn't expect for that to be the case. And working alongside my son, it was just, honestly, it was fantastic. You know, as a mother and son, we are really very close. We do have a really connected relationship. And it's always been like that. But this was completely different, you know, to start learning each other in a different way, you know, as colleagues on an equal playing field, first-time writer, first-time director, learning to hear each other in a completely different way. And sometimes I would have to make sure that I was talking to him sensitively if I felt that something needed to change or be shortened or be, you know, restructured, maybe bring that section forward and we can move that one to one side. We might not need that scene. You know, often he would say, well, but I really love that scene. Why do you think that we might not use that scene? And I would say, well, we might use it, but at the moment, I think that we're really on a roll. You've written something brilliant here. Let's go with that idea. Just like teaching him how sometimes things stay and sometimes things naturally go, because actually when you're in the edit for a film, as I now know, when you're in the edit, the film really does start to reveal itself to you rhythmically and it finds its place as you make those little adjustments and you keep things and you cut things. And also a film does start to push back. The film will, you know, I found it was sort of telling me, leave that, you know, stay on that shot for longer, come off that shot shorter, you know, switch the order around so it's sad for a second and then Toni Collette comes in. And the film did find a rhythm. And it was actually great, really including my son also in that process. And honestly, I loved it, Rodrigo. We had such a great time. And yeah, I mean, I'd do it again in a heartbeat. I loved the whole experience. I feel really proud of our film. You know, we didn't have a huge budget. 7 weeks, you know, only had Helen Mirren for 16 days. It's just, it was very, very challenging. But I loved it all. These brilliant actors, you know, all coming to work, really prepared, really excited to be there. It was wonderful.
And it was wonderful to see it in the screen. Thank you so much, Kate, for your time and success with the movie.
Thank you. Thank you so much.